Most people remember the silence right before something extraordinary happens. It's that split second when the world seems to hold its breath, like it knows something you don't yet. For Amanda Gutierrez, that moment came on a Tuesday afternoon, when the rain tapped gently against the windows of Hope Haven Community Center. "We've got about 3 weeks left," Amanda said quietly, her fingers tracing the edge of yet another rejection letter. 27 years she'd spent building this place from nothing, and now it was slipping through her fingers like sand. The small office was cluttered with photographs of children who had found refuge here over the decades. Children who had nowhere else to go. Children whose lives had been transformed within these walls. Amanda's eyes lingered on a faded picture of Dolores Jordan, taken 15 years ago when she had first visited the center. Dolores had been drawn to Hope Haven immediately. "This place feels like home," she had said, her warm smile lighting up the room as she watched the children playing basketball on their cracked concrete court. That was the beginning of what Amanda thought would be a lifelong partnership. For years, Dolores had been their most devoted volunteer, showing up 3 times a week to read to the younger kids, help teenagers with college applications, and organize fundraisers that kept the lights on. But 6 months ago, Dolores had suffered a stroke. The doctor said she was stable but needed rest. Amanda hadn't seen her since. Without Dolores's connections and tireless advocacy, the donations had slowed to a trickle. Now, with property developers circling and bank notices piling up, Amanda was facing the unthinkable, closing the doors on the only safe space many of these children had ever known. "Miss Amanda," a small voice pulled her from her thoughts. 10-year-old Kayla Coleman stood in the doorway, her braids tied with mismatched ribbons. "Are you sad?" Amanda quickly wiped her eyes and smiled. "Just a little tired, sweetheart. Did you finish your homework?" Kayla nodded, but her eyes remained fixed on the paper in Amanda's hands. Even at her young age, she understood what rejection letters looked like. They were the same kind her mother received when trying to find affordable housing. "We're not going to close, are we?" Kayla asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Amanda wanted to lie, to protect this child from yet another disappointment in a life that had already seen too many. But she had made a promise long ago never to lie to these kids. They'd had enough adults break their trust. "I'm doing everything I can," Amanda said, standing up and walking over to Kayla. She knelt down, looking the girl in the eyes. "But I need you to know something. No matter what happens to this building, what we've built together, all the love and learning and growing, that doesn't disappear. We carry it with us." Kayla's eyes welled with tears. "But where will we go after school? My mom works until 8. The question hit Amanda like a physical blow. It wasn't just about having a place to play or get homework help. For many children, Hope Haven was the difference between safety and neglect, between a meal and going hungry. "Let me worry about that," Amanda said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Right now, I need my best junior coach to help with basketball. Practice. Think you can handle it?" The distraction worked. Kayla's face brightened slightly as she nodded and ran outside to the small court where a dozen children were already gathering. Amanda watched through the window as they played. The basketball hoop had been installed 20 years ago, a makeshift affair with a backboard that had seen better days. She remembered how the neighborhood had come together to build it, everyone contributing what little they could. Basketball had always been the heart of Hope Haven. In a neighborhood where danger lurked on many corners, the court was sacred ground. Here gang rivalries were temporarily forgotten. Here children learned about teamwork and perseverance. Here some found their way to college scholarships and lives their parents could only dream of. The irony wasn't lost on Amanda, that basketball, which had lifted so many of their kids out of poverty, might not be enough to save the center itself. Her phone rang, startling her out of her thoughts. The caller ID showed Kevin Smith, her last hope. a local businessman who had expressed interest in making a donation after their community outreach last month. "Mr. Smith, thank you for calling back," Amanda said, trying to keep the desperation out of her voice. "Miss Gutierrez, I've reviewed your proposal," Kevin began, his tone already telling her everything she needed to know. "While I admire the work you're doing, I'm afraid I can't commit the funds you're requesting at this time. Perhaps after the next fiscal quarter." "We don't have until next quarter," Amanda interrupted, abandoning her usual composed approach. "These children need us now. We're not asking for a handout, Mr. Smith. We're offering you a chance to invest in the future of this community, your community." There was a pause on the line. "I understand your passion, but business is business. I wish you luck finding alternative funding." The line went dead before Amanda could respond. She placed the phone down gently, though every part of her wanted to throw it across the room. 27 rejection letters and calls, 27 variations of "we admire your work," followed by excuses. The $175,000 they needed to pay off their mortgage and make essential repairs seemed more impossible by the day. Amanda looked at the stack of bills on her desk. She had already stopped taking a salary 3 months ago, picking up night shifts at the local hospital to pay her own rent. But it wasn't enough. Nothing seemed to be enough anymore. Outside, the children continued their game, their laughter filtering through the thin walls. Among them was Tyler Jimenez, whose mother had been one of Hope Haven's first success stories. Now Tyler was showing the same promise, his grades improving and his confidence growing every day. Amanda remembered what Dolores Jordan had told her once. "When you save a child, you don't just change one life, you change generations." Those words had kept Amanda going through countless late nights and financial crises. But now, as she looked at the final notice from the bank, she wondered if passion and purpose were enough to overcome the cold reality of numbers. The center needed a miracle, and miracles, Amanda had learned long ago, were in short supply in neighborhoods like this one. As afternoon faded into evening, parents began arriving to pick up their children. Amanda stood at the door, exchanging updates and reassurances with each one. These conversations had become increasingly difficult as rumors of the center's financial troubles spread through the community. "Any word on that grant application?" asked Frank Johnson, a single father of 3 who relied on Hope Haven while he worked 2 jobs. Amanda shook her head. "Still waiting to hear back, but I'm hopeful." It was the same answer she had given for weeks now. The hope part was becoming harder to believe. After the last child had left, Amanda began her closing routine. She straightened chairs, wiped down tables, and collected forgotten jackets and homework sheets. These mundane tasks had become a kind of meditation for her, a way to process the day and prepare for tomorrow. As she locked up the art supply cabinet, her phone buzzed with a text from Brittany Wyatt, a former Hope Haven kid who now worked as a paralegal. "Just heard about the center. What can I do to help? We can't let this place close." Amanda sat heavily in a child-sized chair, suddenly overwhelmed. News was spreading faster than she had anticipated. By tomorrow, everyone would know, and she would have to face the questions she had no answers for. She began typing a response when she heard a knock at the front door. Assuming it was a parent returning for a forgotten item, she made her way through the darkened main room. Through the glass, she could see a man in a baseball cap pulled low over his face, hands in the pockets of an expensive-looking jacket. Something about his posture seemed familiar, but Amanda couldn't place it. Years of working in this neighborhood had taught her caution, so she called through the door. "We're closed for the evening. If you need assistance, we open at 9 tomorrow." The man shifted slightly. "I'm looking for Amanda Gutierrez," he said, his voice deep and measured. "That's me," she replied, still not opening the door. "What can I help you with?" "I heard this place might be in trouble," he said. I'd like to talk about that if you have a minute. Amanda hesitated. Reporters had been sniffing around lately, looking for stories about failing community programs. The last thing she needed was negative publicity, scaring away potential donors. If you're with the press, I've already given my statement to the Tribune, she said firmly. The man chuckled softly and removed his cap, revealing his face clearly for the first time in the glow of the porch light. Amanda's hand flew to her mouth, her other hand instinctively unlocking the door. "Michael Jordan," she breathed, hardly believing what she was seeing. The man nodded, a small smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "My mother speaks very highly of you, Ms. Gutierrez. May I come in?" Amanda stepped back, opening the door wider. "Of course, please." And it's Amanda. As Michael Jordan stepped into Hope Haven, Amanda noticed he was carrying a manila envelope. Her heart began to race, though she tried to temper her expectations. Just because he was here didn't mean he planned to help. Celebrities visited community centers for all sorts of reasons. Photo opportunities, community service mandated by courts, brief appearances to maintain their public image. "How is your mother?" Amanda asked as she led him to her office. "We've all been so worried about her." "Getting stronger every day," Michael replied, looking around at the children's artwork that covered nearly every inch of wall space. "She's the one who sent me here, actually." Amanda switched on the lights in her small office, suddenly self-conscious about the peeling paint and mismatched furniture. "Please have a seat," she said, gesturing to the chair across from her desk. Michael sat down, placing the envelope on the desk between them. "My mother told me this place might be closing, said it would break her heart if it did." Amanda swallowed hard. "We've hit some financial difficulties," she admitted. "Without your mother's help with fundraising these past months, and with the economy the way it is." She trailed off, not wanting to sound like she was blaming Dolores for their problems. Michael nodded thoughtfully. "How much do you need to keep the doors open?" The directness of the question caught Amanda off guard. In her experience, potential donors usually circled the topic of money, asking about programs and impact before cautiously inquiring about financial needs. "To clear our debts and make essential repairs?" Amanda took a deep breath. $175,000. She expected to see shock on his face, or perhaps a polite withdrawal. Instead, Michael Jordan simply nodded again, as if she had told him the price of a meal. "And what would you do if you had more than that?" "If money wasn't the issue right now?" Amanda blinked, thrown by the hypothetical. For so long, she had been focused on mere survival that thinking beyond that seemed almost dangerous. "We'd expand our programs," she said slowly, allowing herself to imagine it. "Hire qualified staff instead of relying so heavily on volunteers. Update our computer lab. The kids are using machines that are almost 10 years old. Build a proper basketball court instead of that cracked concrete out there." As she spoke, her voice grew stronger, more passionate. "We'd create a scholarship fund for our high school seniors, partner with local businesses for internships, maybe even buy the vacant lot next door for a community garden." She stopped suddenly, realizing she had been carried away by dreams that seemed impossible just moments ago. Michael was watching her intently, his expression unreadable. Then, without a word, he slid the manila envelope across the desk toward her. "Open it," he said quietly. With trembling fingers, Amanda opened the envelope and pulled out a single sheet of paper. It was a check made out to Hope Haven Community Center. The amount, $500,000. Amanda stared at the numbers, unable to process what she was seeing. She looked up at Michael, her vision blurring with tears. "I don't understand," she whispered. Michael leaned forward slightly. "My mother taught me that when you're blessed, you pass those blessings on. She couldn't be here herself, but she made me promise I would come and make sure this place stays open." "This is too much," Amanda said, still staring at the check-in. "Disbelief, no," Michael replied with quiet certainty. "It's exactly what's needed. But there's one condition. Amanda braced herself, waiting. "No one can know it came from me," he said. "No press, no public thank yous, no building with my name on it. As far as anyone needs to know, this is an anonymous donation." "But why?" Amanda asked. "People should know about this kind of generosity." Michael shook his head. "This isn't about me. It's about those kids out there, and it's about honoring my mother's wishes. She believes in this place, in what you've built here. That's enough for me." As the reality of what was happening began to sink in, Amanda felt something she hadn't experienced in months. Hope. Not the desperate kind she had been clinging to, but real, substantial hope that filled her chest and made it easier to breathe. Outside, the streetlights flickered on, casting long shadows through the windows. In neighborhoods like this, darkness often brought danger and fear. But tonight, sitting across from an unexpected ally, Amanda Gutierrez felt the weight of 27 years lift from her shoulders. Hope Haven would live to see another day. And somewhere across town, Dolores Jordan would soon receive a phone call that would bring a smile to her face. The game wasn't over. It was just beginning. The following morning, Amanda arrived at Hope Haven earlier than usual. Sleep had evaded her most of the night, her mind racing with plans and possibilities that had seemed impossible just 24 hours ago. The check, Michael Jordan's check, was safely deposited, though the bank teller had raised her eyebrows at the amount. "Anonymous donor," Amanda had explained simply, honoring her promise. As she unlocked the front door, the weight of the building felt different today. What had been a burden now felt like a treasure to be protected. The peeling paint and worn floors were no longer symbols of failure, but canvases for renewal. She made her way to her office, flipping on lights and straightening chairs as she went. The morning sunlight streamed through the windows, illuminating, dust particles dancing in the air. Amanda pulled out a notepad and began making lists: repairs, program expansions, staffing needs. There was so much to do, but for the first time in months, the future stretched out before her with promise instead of dread. A knock at the door interrupted her planning. It was Richard Bryant, the center's part-time maintenance worker who had been volunteering his services for the past 2 months when Amanda could no longer afford to pay him. "Morning, Ms. Gutierrez," he said, his weathered face creasing into a smile. "Heard we might have some good news." Amanda looked up in surprise. "How did you—" "Brittany called me," Richard explained. "Said you texted her last night that an angel investor came through. Is it true? We're not closing." Amanda nodded, careful with her words. "We received an anonymous donation that will cover our debts, and then some. Hope Haven is going to be around for a long time, Richard." The older man's eyes filled with tears. He had been one of the community members who helped build the basketball court 2 decades ago, and his own children had grown up within these walls. "Thank God," he whispered. "This place is too important to lose. And I'd like to officially input you back on payroll," Amanda added. "In fact, I'm going to need you full-time for a while. We have some serious renovations ahead." Richard straightened his posture, years seeming to fall away from him. "Just tell me where to start." By 9 o'clock, the center began filling with its morning regulars. Retired neighbors who came for coffee and conversation, young mothers with preschoolers attending the early childhood program, and a handful of teenagers who used the center's computers to apply for jobs or finish school assignments before their afternoon classes. Amanda moved among them, a new energy in her step that didn't go unnoticed. The whispers traveled quickly. Hope Haven was saved. The details remained vague, just how Amanda wanted it, but the relief was palpable. Around 10, the front door chimed, and Daniel Allen walked in. As Hope Haven's most dedicated volunteer, basketball coach Daniel had been instrumental in keeping many neighborhood boys off the streets and focused on their education. "Tell me it's true," he said without preamble, his normally calm demeanor betraying his excitement. Amanda ushered him into her office, closing the door. It's true. We're not just staying open, we're expanding. Daniel sank into a chair. How? Last week you told me we had 3 weeks left, tops. An anonymous donor, Amanda said, sticking to her story. Someone who believes in what we do here. Daniel studied her face. Just like that? Someone drops $500,000 and wants nothing in return? Amanda froze. How did you know the amount? I didn't, Daniel said, his expression turning serious. Until now, Amanda sighed, realizing her mistake. Daniel, I need this to stay quiet. The donor specifically requested anonymity. Of course, he assured her. But Amanda, this is life-changing for the center, for the kids, for all of us. He paused, leaning forward. Is there anything I should know? Any strings attached? Amanda shook her head. Just one condition, that no one knows the source of the donation, and I intend to honor that. She didn't mention Michael Jordan's name, keeping her promise even to her most trusted colleague. Daniel nodded slowly. Well, whoever this guardian angel is, they just saved more lives than they'll ever know. He glanced out the window toward the basketball court, where afternoon games would soon begin. Speaking of which, I've been thinking about our court situation. It's already on my list, Amanda said, smiling. New surface, proper hoops, maybe even bleachers. And lighting, Daniel added. If we could keep the court open after dark, under supervision, add it to the plan, Amanda agreed. I want proposals from you for any basketball program expansions you've been dreaming about. Skills clinics, tournaments, whatever you think would benefit the kids most. As Daniel left, energized by the possibilities, Amanda turned her attention to the financial details. The immediate needs were clear. Pay off the mortgage, settle outstanding bills, and begin essential repairs. But the remainder of the funds required careful stewardship. She called Nicole Elliott, a former Hope Haven kid who now worked as an accountant. If anyone could help her create a sustainable financial plan, it was Nicole. The morning passed in a blur of phone calls and planning sessions. By lunchtime, word had spread throughout the community. Parents began stopping by, some with tears in their eyes, others with offerings of home-cooked meals and promises of volunteer hours. Around 1 o'clock, Amanda noticed a black sedan pull up outside. The driver remained inside, but the back door opened and a familiar figure emerged with the help of a walking cane. Amanda rushed to the entrance, her heart pounding. Mrs. Jordan, she breathed, opening the door wide. Dolores Jordan stood before her, smaller than Amanda remembered, but with the same warm presence that had filled the center for so many years. Her recovery from the stroke was evident in the slight droop of her left cheek and the careful way she moved, but her eyes were clear and bright. I heard the good news, Dolores said, her voice strong despite her physical limitations. May I come in? Amanda embraced her gently, fighting back tears. Always. This is still your second home. As they made their way through the main room, children and staff members stopped to greet Dolores, many rushing to hug her or show her their latest achievements. She took her time with each one, asking questions and offering encouragement as she had done for years before her illness. Eventually, they settled in Amanda's office. The door closed against the happy chaos outside. I see my son found you, Dolores said without preamble. Amanda nodded, understanding now why Michael had known exactly where to find her the previous evening. He did. Mrs. Jordan, I don't even know how to thank you. Dolores held up a hand, stopping her. Don't thank me. Michael makes his own decisions about where his blessings go. She smiled, a hint of motherly pride in her eyes. Though I might have mentioned Hope Haven was in trouble. The donation is... Amanda struggled to find the right words. It's beyond generous. It changes everything for us. Good, Dolores said, firmly. This place deserves to thrive, but I didn't come just to talk about the money. She leaned forward slightly. I want to come back, not at the same pace as before. The doctors wouldn't allow it, but I miss being here. I miss the children." Amanda felt a wave of emotion wash over her. Not only was Hope Haven saved financially, but they were also regaining one of their most beloved volunteers. "Nothing would make us happier," she said. "The children ask about you every day." Dolores smiled, satisfied. "Then it's settled. Twice a week to start, for reading sessions with the little ones." She looked around the office, noticing the planning notes scattered across Amanda's desk. "I see you've already started putting that money to work." "There's so much to do," Amanda admitted. "I want to make sure we use it wisely." "You will," Dolores assured her. "You've always been a good steward of whatever came your way." She paused, her expression growing more serious. "There is one thing I need to ask you, though." "Anything," Amanda replied. "Michael's involvement needs to remain private. No press, no public acknowledgements." Amanda nodded. "He made that very clear, and I've been careful. But may I ask why? This kind of generosity, people should know about it." Dolores considered the question carefully. "My son has a complicated relationship with his fame. The world sees the championships, the shoes, the commercials. They think they know him." She sighed softly. "But there's a private side to Michael that few people understand. He believes true charity isn't about recognition." Amanda thought about the man who had sat across from her the night before. Not the basketball legend from television, but a son honoring his mother's wishes. The humanity of it touched her deeply. "I understand," she said, "and I promise. His secret is safe with us." Their conversation was interrupted by a commotion outside. The afternoon children were arriving from school, their excited voices filling the center with life. Through the office window, Amanda could see Kayla Coleman leading a group of younger kids toward the art room, her responsibility as a junior helper evident in her serious expression. "Some things never change," Dolores observed with a smile. "The faces may be different, but the spirit remains the same." As they watched the children settle into their afternoon routines, Amanda felt a profound sense of gratitude. Just 24 hours ago, she had been preparing herself to tell these children that their safe haven was disappearing. Now, she was planning for a future brighter than any she had dared to imagine. Later that afternoon, Amanda gathered all the children in the main room. Standing before their expectant faces, she chose her words carefully. "I have some news to share," she began, her voice steady. "Some of you may have heard rumors that Hope Haven might be closing soon." Anxious murmurs spread through the group. Kayla, sitting in the front row, stared up at Amanda with wide, worried eyes. "Those rumors were true," Amanda continued. "We were facing some very serious financial problems." The room grew quiet, the children sensing what was coming next. "But I'm happy to tell you that Hope Haven isn't going anywhere. Thanks to a very generous anonymous donor, we're not only staying open, we're going to be making some exciting improvements around here." The reaction was immediate. Cheers erupted, children jumped from their seats, hugging each other, and the staff. Kayla rushed forward, throwing her arms around Amanda's waist. "I told you it would be okay," the little girl said, her face glowing with relief. "I prayed real hard, just like you taught us." Amanda hugged her back, meeting Dolores's gaze over the child's head. In that moment, something unspoken passed between the two women, an understanding of what this place truly meant to the community, and a shared commitment to its future. As the celebration continued around them, Amanda thought about Michael Jordan's insistence on anonymity. In a world where good deeds were often performed for social media likes and public accolades, there was something profoundly moving about generosity that asked for nothing in return. The true impact of his gift wouldn't be measured in repaired buildings or new programs, but in the lives that would be transformed within these walls for generations to come. Children who might never know the name of the man who had helped save their sanctuary, but who would carry the lessons learned here throughout their lives. And perhaps that was the greatest gift of all, not just the money, but the reminder that sometimes the most powerful acts of kindness were the ones that remained unseen. The transformation of Hope Haven began on a Monday morning, exactly 1 week after Michael Jordan's visit. Amanda had spent the weekend finalizing plans with contractors, program coordinators, and financial advisors. The mortgage had been paid in full, outstanding bills settled, and now the real work could begin. The first phase focused on critical repairs: the leaking roof, outdated electrical system, and inadequate heating and cooling. For years, Amanda had applied patches and temporary fixes, but now they could address the underlying issues properly. As the construction crew arrived, the children gathered at the windows, watching with fascination as equipment and materials were unloaded. "Are they going to knock the whole building down?" asked Gabriel Daniels, a 7-year-old whose family had recently moved to the neighborhood. "No, sweetheart," Amanda assured him. "They're just making it better and stronger, like a superhero." "Getting new powers," Gabriel said, his eyes wide with excitement. Amanda smiled at the comparison. "Exactly like that. For the next 3 weeks, Hope Haven operated amid controlled chaos. Certain areas were closed off for construction while programs continued in the available spaces. Despite the inconvenience, there was an undeniable energy pulsing through the center, a sense of renewal that affected everyone who walked through the doors. The basketball court renovation became the most visible symbol of Hope Haven's rebirth. Daniel Allen oversaw the project personally, working alongside the contractors to ensure every detail met their needs. The cracked concrete was removed, replaced with a proper surface marked with regulation lines. New hoops with breakaway rims were installed, along with modest bleachers and outdoor lighting for evening games. When the court was finally ready, Daniel organized an informal opening ceremony. The children lined up along the freshly painted sidelines as Amanda cut a ribbon stretched across the center circle. "This court has always been the heart of Hope Haven," she said, addressing the gathered community. "For many of you, it's been a place of refuge, friendship, and growth. Now, thanks to the generosity of an anonymous donor who believes in what we do here, this court will continue to serve our community for generations to come." As the children rushed onto the new surface, their sneakers squeaking against the pristine coating, Amanda noticed a black sedan parked across the street. Though she couldn't see the driver clearly through the tinted windows, she had a strong suspicion of who might be watching the celebration from a distance. Later that afternoon, Amanda received a text message from an unknown number. "The court looks good. Mom says the kids seem happy." She smiled, typing back simply, "They are, thank you." No response came, but none was needed. The message confirmed what she had suspected. Michael Jordan was keeping tabs on his investment, not for recognition, but out of genuine care for the project his mother had championed. As weeks turned into months, Hope Haven's transformation continued beyond the physical renovations. With Dolores Jordan's guidance, Amanda expanded their educational programs, hiring qualified tutors and purchasing new computers for the lab. The results were immediate. Test scores improved, school attendance increased, and more high school seniors began receiving college acceptance letters. On a crisp autumn afternoon, 6 months after the donation that had saved them, Amanda sat in her office reviewing the center's financial reports with Nicole Elliott. "We're in remarkably good shape," Nicole said, pointing to the spreadsheet on her tablet. "The investment fund we established with the remaining donation is generating sustainable income, and our operating costs are stable even with the program expansions." Amanda nodded, still amazed by how much had changed. And the scholarship fund growing steadily, Nicole confirmed. By next spring, we should be able to offer meaningful financial assistance to at least 5 graduating seniors. As Nicole gathered her things to leave, she paused at the door. You know, when I was a kid coming here, I never imagined Hope Haven could be like this. What you've built, she trailed off, emotion rising in her voice. What we've built, Amanda corrected gently. This place belongs to all of us. After Nicole left, Amanda walked through the building, observing the afternoon activities. In the computer lab, teenagers were receiving coding lessons from a software engineer who volunteered his time twice a week. In the reading room, Jordan sat surrounded by young children, her voice animated as she brought a story to life. And in the multi-purpose room, a group of mothers attended a financial literacy workshop, a new program designed to support entire families. Amanda made her way outside to the basketball court, where Daniel was conducting tryouts for their newly formed youth league. The teams would compete against other community centers across the city, wearing uniforms proudly displaying the Hope Haven logo. Among the hopeful players was Kayla Coleman, her determination evident as she dribbled between cones and executed layups. Though smaller than most of the other children, her technique was precise, the result of countless hours practicing on this very court. She's got potential, said a voice beside Amanda. She turned to find Evelyn Shields, a former Hope Haven kid, who had earned a basketball scholarship to college and now worked as a high school coach. Natural talent and work ethic, Evelyn continued, watching Kayla sink a free throw, reminds me of myself at that age. She practices every day, Amanda said proudly, rain or shine. With the right guidance, she could go far, Evelyn mused. College scholarship material, I'd say. Amanda felt a familiar warmth spread through her chest, the special pride that came from watching these children discover their potential. It was moments like these that had sustained her through the difficult years, and now they felt even sweeter with the knowledge that Hope Haven's future was secure. That evening, after the last child had been picked up and the staff had gone home, Amanda received an unexpected visit. She was organizing files in her office when a knock came at the front door. Through the glass, she recognized the tall figure immediately. This time, Michael Jordan wasn't wearing a cap to obscure his face. Amanda hurried to let him in. This is a surprise, she said, suddenly conscious of how much the center had changed since his last visit. I was in town for business, Michael explained, stepping inside. Thought I'd stop by and see how things are going. I'd be happy to give you a tour, Amanda offered. Everything looks different now. As they walked through the renovated spaces, Amanda detailed the improvements and new programs. Michael listened attentively, asking thoughtful questions about attendance numbers, educational outcomes, and future plans. When they reached the basketball court, he paused, running his hand along the new wall, padding emblazoned with the Hope Haven logo. My mother can't stop talking about this place, he said with a small smile. Says it gives her a reason to get up in the morning. Having her back has meant everything to us, Amanda replied. The children adore her. Michael nodded, his expression softening at the mention of his mother. She said there's a girl here with real talent. Kayla something? Kayla Coleman, Amanda confirmed, surprised Dolores had mentioned her. She's dedicated, that's for sure. Practices harder than kids twice her age. Mom mentioned she might need proper shoes, Michael said casually. Her current ones are pretty worn out, Amanda sighed. Her mother works 2 jobs just to keep a roof over their heads. Basketball shoes aren't exactly in the budget. Michael seemed to consider this. What size does she wear? I'm not sure, Amanda admitted. Probably a youth 6 or 7. I might have some connections in the footwear industry, he said with a hint of humor. Maybe I could send over a few pairs in different sizes, anonymously, of course. Amanda smiled, understanding the offer behind his casual words. That would be incredible, but you've already done so much. This isn't about me, Michael interrupted, gently. It's about giving a dedicated kid the tools she needs. They continued their tour, ending back at Amanda's office. As Michael prepared to leave, he paused, his expression turning more serious. I have something else I wanted to discuss with you, he said. A proposition of sorts. Amanda gestured for him to continue. I've been thinking about what you're building here, Michael began. Not just the facilities, but the programs, the support, systems. It's impressive. Thank you, Amanda said, waiting for him to continue. There are other communities that need what Hope Haven provides, he said. Other neighborhoods where kids don't have safe spaces or opportunities. Amanda nodded, understanding where this was heading. You're thinking about replicating the model? Exactly, Michael confirmed. I'd like to fund similar centers in other cities, using Hope Haven as the blueprint, with you as a consultant if you're willing. The proposal took Amanda's breath away. What had begun as a desperate effort to save one community center was evolving into something far greater, a potential network of safe havens for children across the country. I would be honored, she said finally. But the anonymity still applies, Michael assured her. These would be community-based centers, not monuments to me. The work speaks for itself. As he left, Amanda stood in the doorway watching his car disappear into the night. The weight of what he was proposing settled on her shoulders, not as a burden, but as a profound responsibility. Hope Haven had always been her life's work, but now it could become a model for change on a much larger scale. The following day, Amanda received a package at the center. Inside were 6 pairs of basketball shoes in various sizes, along with matching practice jerseys and shorts. There was no note, no indication of their source, but the Air Jordan logo spoke volumes. When Kayla arrived that afternoon, Amanda called her into the office. Someone donated some basketball equipment, she explained, keeping her promise of anonymity. And I thought you might be able to use these. Kayla's eyes widened as Amanda revealed the shoes. Are these real Jordans? She whispered, touching the smooth leather reverently. Very real, Amanda confirmed. Why don't you try them on and see if any fit? The girl slipped her feet into a pair, her face transforming with wonder as she stood and took a few experimental steps. They feel like I could fly, she breathed. Well, let's go test them out, Amanda suggested, leading her to the court. As Kayla took off running and jumping in her new shoes, Amanda thought about the chain of events that had brought them to this moment. Dolores Jordan's initial volunteer work at Hope Haven, her stroke that had inadvertently put the center in financial jeopardy, her son's quiet intervention that had not only saved the center but elevated it to new heights. And now, a simple pair of shoes that might just be the first step on a little girl's journey toward her own dreams. Later that week, during Dolores's regular reading session, Amanda noticed her watching Kayla practice through the window, a knowing smile on her face. The shoes fit perfectly, Amanda said quietly, sitting beside her. Dolores's smile widened. I had a feeling they might. She turned her attention back to the story she was reading, but not before adding, my son always did have a good eye for talent. As autumn deepened into winter, Hope Haven continued to thrive. The expanded programs reached more children than ever before, and community involvement soared. Local businesses began offering internships to their teenagers, college students volunteered as mentors, and former Hope Haven kids returned to share their success stories. What had once been a struggling community center fighting for survival had become a beacon of possibility, proof that with the right support, neighborhoods could lift themselves up from within. And through it all, Amanda kept her promise. Though rumors occasionally circulated about the identity of their anonymous benefactor, she neither confirmed nor denied them. The focus remained where it belonged, on the children who called Hope Haven their second home. One evening, as snow fell gently outside the windows, Amanda found Kayla sitting alone on the bleachers after practice, still wearing her Jordan shoes. "Everything okay?" Amanda asked, sitting beside her. Kayla nodded, her expression thoughtful. "Do you think Michael Jordan knows about us? About Hope Haven?" The question caught Amanda off guard. She chose her words carefully. "Why do you ask?" "Just wondering," Kayla said, looking down at her shoes. "My mom says someone important must really care about us to give all this money. And these are his shoes, so—" Amanda put an arm around the girl's shoulders. "I think what matters is that people do care, whether they're famous or not. And the best way to thank them is to make the most of the opportunities they've helped create." Kayla seemed to consider this, then nodded decisively. "Then I'm gonna practice twice as hard and get a scholarship someday, maybe even play professionally." "That sounds like an excellent plan," Amanda agreed, her heart full. As they walked back inside, Amanda glanced up at the night sky, snowflakes landing softly on her face. Somewhere out there, a basketball legend was going about his life, perhaps never fully knowing the ripple effects of his generosity. But here, in this small corner of the world, those ripples had become waves of change, lifting children toward futures once thought impossible. And in the end, wasn't that the most powerful kind of legacy? Not one carved in stone or celebrated in headlines, but one that lived in the transformed lives of children who would grow up to create their own ripples of change. Hope Haven wasn't just saved, it was reborn, and its story was only beginning. Spring arrived at Hope Haven with a burst of activity. The community garden, once a distant dream, was now taking shape in the vacant lot next door that they had finally been able to purchase. Raised beds lined the previously empty space, filled with rich soil and seeds that promised summer vegetables for the center's cooking program. Today marked 1 year since Michael Jordan's life-changing donation, though only a handful of people knew the significance of the date. Amanda Gutierrez stood at the edge of the garden, watching as children and parents worked together, planting tomatoes and peppers under the guidance of a local urban farming expert. "Quite a difference from last year," said a voice behind her. Amanda turned to find Dolores Jordan, who had become a fixture at the center again, though her visits were now scheduled around her ongoing recovery therapy. "I was just thinking the same thing," Amanda replied, making room for Dolores to stand beside her. "1 year ago today, I was preparing to close our doors." Dolores nodded, her eyes taking in the thriving scene before them. "And now, look at what you've built." "What we've built," Amanda corrected gently. "None of this would have been possible without you." They stood in comfortable silence, observing the community that had coalesced around Hope Haven. Beyond the garden, the basketball court was alive with activity. Daniel Allen conducting drills with the youth league team that had recently won their division championship. Among the players was Kayla Coleman, her skills having developed remarkably over the past year. The shoes she had received had been replaced twice as she outgrew them, new pairs mysteriously arriving just when needed, always without explanation or fanfare. "She's got real talent," Dolores observed, watching Kayla execute a perfect jump shot. "It reminds me of watching Michael when he was young, that same focus." "College scouts have already started asking about her," Amanda confided. "She's only 11, but they're keeping an eye on her development." "And her academics?" Dolores asked, always practical about balancing athletic promise with educational foundations. "Straight A's," Amanda said proudly. "She wants to study sports, medicine if basketball doesn't work out professionally." Their conversation was interrupted by Nicole Elliott, who approached with a tablet in hand. "Sorry to interrupt, but I have those financial projections you asked for, Amanda. Let's hear it, Amanda said, including Dolores in the discussion. Nicole swiped through several screens. The news is all good. The investment fund continues to perform above expectations. Our operational costs are stable, and the satellite center planning is on schedule. The satellite center had been the biggest development of the past 6 months, a second Hope Haven location being established across town in another underserved neighborhood. It represented the first step in Michael Jordan's vision of expanding their model, with Amanda serving as the project's chief consultant. Construction begins next month, Nicole continued. We're on track for a fall opening. And the staffing, Amanda asked. We've identified several key positions, Nicole reported, including Daniel's counterpart for the basketball program there. As Nicole departed to share the updates with other staff members, Dolores turned to Amanda with a knowing smile. Satellite centers. My son doesn't think small, does he? Amanda shook her head, still amazed by how much had changed. When he first mentioned expanding the model, I thought he meant years down the road, not months. When Michael sees potential, he moves quickly, Dolores said. Always has. The afternoon progressed with the rhythm that had become familiar at the renewed Hope Haven, academic tutoring sessions, art classes, basketball practices, and community meetings all happening simultaneously in different spaces. The center hummed with purposeful activity from morning until evening, serving as a true community hub. Around 4 o'clock, a sleek black SUV pulled up outside. Amanda noticed it from her office window, recognizing the vehicle even before the tall figure emerged from the back seat. She met Michael Jordan at the front entrance, ushering him inside quickly. Though his visits had become more frequent as the satellite center plans developed, they still maintained a careful protocol to protect his anonymity. Everything running smoothly? He asked, scanning the busy main room as they made their way to Amanda's office. Like clockwork, she assured him. Nicole just updated us on the satellite center progress. Once inside her office with the door closed, Michael relaxed visibly. Here, away from potential recognition, he could speak freely about the projects that had increasingly captured his attention over the past year. I've been reviewing the expansion timeline, he said, accepting the bottle of water Amanda offered. I think we could accelerate it. Amanda raised her eyebrows. We haven't even opened the first satellite location. I'm not talking about adding more centers immediately, Michael clarified. I'm talking about deepening what we offer at the existing and planned locations. He pulled out his phone, bringing up renderings that Amanda hadn't seen before. Designs for a more comprehensive athletic facility adjacent to Hope Haven. What exactly am I looking at? She asked, studying the images. The next phase, Michael said simply. A dedicated youth sports complex, not just basketball, track and field, volleyball, swimming, with professional-grade training equipment and coaching. Amanda's mind raced with the implications. This would be transformative, but the cost is something I'm prepared to cover, Michael finished. The success here has convinced me this is worth investing in long-term, not just as charity, but as a deliberate strategy for community development. The conversation continued for over an hour, with Michael outlining his vision for what Hope Haven could become. Not just a community center, but the hub of a comprehensive support system for underserved youth, with education, athletics, nutrition, and mental health services all working in concert. The basketball court was always more than just a game for me, he explained, a rare moment of personal reflection. It was where I learned discipline, teamwork, how to win and lose with grace. Those lessons shaped me as much as any classroom. As their meeting concluded, Amanda walked Michael through the center, careful to time the tour during a period when most of the children were engaged in activities and less likely to recognize him. They paused at the entrance to the gym, where Kayla was still practicing, now alone on the court. She moved with remarkable grace for her age, her form nearly perfect as she executed a series of drills Daniel had designed for her. "That's her, isn't it?" Michael asked quietly. "The girl my mother mentioned," Amanda nodded. "Kayla Coleman, she's our rising star." They watched in silence for a moment as Kayla hit shot after shot, completely absorbed in her practice. "The shoes working out for her?" Michael asked, a hint of amusement in his voice. "They seem to be," Amanda replied with a smile. "Though she outgrows them faster than we can keep up. I'll make sure that's never an issue," Michael said. Then, after a pause, "She reminds me of myself at that age. The focus, the determination." Before they could move on, Kayla turned and spotted them. Her eyes widened in recognition, the basketball momentarily forgotten in her hands. For a second, no one moved. Then Kayla slowly approached, her expression a mixture of awe and disbelief. You're Michael Jordan," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Michael nodded, offering a warm smile. "And you must be Kayla. I've heard you've got game." Kayla looked down at her shoes, the latest pair of Air Jordans, and then back up at the man himself. "Was it you? The shoes and everything?" Michael glanced at Amanda, who gave a small nod of permission. Some secrets, she decided, were worth breaking for the right moment. "Let's just say I believe in supporting hard work and dedication," Michael replied. "Ms. Gutierrez tells me you have plenty of both." Kayla stood straighter, pride replacing her initial shock. "I practice every day, no matter what." "That's the only way to greatness," Michael affirmed. "Mind if I see what you've got?" What followed was 30 minutes that Amanda knew Kayla would remember for the rest of her life, a private basketball session with Michael Jordan himself. He offered tips on her form, demonstrated techniques, and challenged her with drills that pushed her abilities. Other staff members noticed the scene unfolding but maintained a respectful distance, understanding the significance of the moment. Daniel Allen watched from the doorway, tears in his eyes as he witnessed his young protege receiving guidance from the greatest basketball player of all time. As the impromptu session concluded, Michael offered Kayla a fist bump. "Keep working hard. Stay focused on your education too. The court will always be there, but your mind is your most powerful asset." Kayla nodded solemnly, absorbing every word. "Yes, sir. And Kayla," Michael added, his voice lower, "let's keep today between us, okay? I'm just a visitor checking on the center." She nodded again, understanding the request for discretion. "Thank you for everything." As Michael prepared to leave, he paused for a final word with Amanda. "Sometimes the rules need a little bending," he said, referring to his broken anonymity with Kayla. "Some moments matter more than protocols." Amanda couldn't disagree. "She'll remember this day forever." "So will I," Michael replied, surprising her with his sincerity. "It's good to be reminded why we're doing all this." After he departed, Amanda found Kayla sitting alone on the bleachers, staring at her shoes with new appreciation. "You okay?" Amanda asked, sitting beside her. "It was really him," Kayla said, still processing the encounter. "All this time, Michael Jordan was helping us. Helping me?" Amanda chose her words carefully. "Hope Haven has been blessed with supporters who believe in what we do here. Some of them prefer to remain in the background. I won't tell anyone," Kayla promised. "But Ms. Gutierrez, I'm going to work twice as hard now, 3 times as hard." "I believe you will," Amanda replied, seeing the renewed determination in the girl's eyes. That evening, after the center had closed for the day, Amanda sat alone in her office reflecting on the day's events. On her desk lay the renderings Michael had shared, the ambitious plans for Hope Haven's future that would transform not just the center, but potentially the entire community. A text message interrupted her thoughts. "She's got real potential. Let's make sure she has every opportunity to develop it, and that goes for all the kids at Hope Haven." Amanda smiled, typing back, "We will. That's a promise." The journey that had begun in desperation 1 year ago had evolved into something far beyond Amanda's most optimistic dreams. What had been a fight for mere survival was now an expanding vision for community transformation, backed by resources she once couldn't have imagined. But more important than the facilities or programs was the spirit that had been reignited, the belief that these children deserved every opportunity to realize their potential, that their circumstances didn't define their futures, and that communities could lift themselves up when given the proper tools and support. Following morning, Amanda arrived early to find Kayla already on the court, practicing with renewed intensity. In the garden, volunteers were adding the finishing touches to the raised beds. In the computer lab, a group of teenagers were coding their own video game under the guidance of a tech industry mentor. Throughout the building, evidence of rebirth and possibility surrounded her. The mortgage that had once threatened to close, their doors was long paid off. The leaking roof had been replaced, the outdated facilities had been modernized. But the heart of Hope Haven remained the same. The commitment to seeing the potential in every child who walked through their doors. As she watched the center come alive around her, Amanda thought about Michael Jordan's insistence on anonymity. In a world obsessed with public recognition and social media validation, there was something profoundly moving about generosity that sought no spotlight, about kindness extended not for the appreciation it might garner, but simply because it was the right thing to do. Perhaps that was the most valuable lesson Hope Haven could teach its children. That true character was revealed not in public accolades, but in the choices made when no one was watching. That genuine generosity came without expectations of return. That sometimes the most meaningful impacts were made quietly, one life at a time. Outside, the morning sun illuminated the basketball court where Kayla continued her solitary practice. Each dribble, each shot, each moment of focused determination represented the promise that had been saved 1 year ago, the promise of potential recognized, nurtured, and given room to flourish. And as Amanda opened the doors to welcome the day's first arrivals, she knew with certainty that the story of Hope Haven was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning a new chapter, one that would reach beyond their walls to touch communities they had yet to meet, changing lives in ways they had yet to imagine. All because one mother had believed in the power of a safe haven for children, all because her son had honored that belief with a gift that asked for nothing in return. All because sometimes the most powerful acts of kindness were the ones that remained unseen, like roots beneath the surface, supporting growth that would stretch toward the sky for generations to come.